To say that this is overdue is an understatement, so let's get right into it. I did my top 10 stories for the 9th Doctor, the 10th Doctor. I said I was going to do the 11th, but then things happened and the new series of Doctor Who started. I did that instead, so this got pushed off. I'm finally now getting to it. Here are going to be my top 10 stories for the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith, still my own personal favorite Doctor, in the interest of full disclosure. And also a quick reminder on how I do this. I count two-parters as a single story. So with that groundwork laid, let's get right to it. Number 10. The Girl Who Waited. There's a lot that I like about this episode, and on premise, this should drive me crazy. I mean, how often do we see actors trying to play themselves older in old age makeup and it just become embarrassing? But first of all, Amy, older Amy, gets a very subtle makeup treatment, and she plays the age up fairly subtly. It's incredibly believable. Her performance is truly what makes this episode. Because if I'm being honest, there are little things about it that bug me. I've complained about the hand robots before. There's also the fact that Amy builds her own sonic screwdriver, which I'm not entirely sure that I buy. But her performance in this is so good, and the ending of it just... You feel the weight of the Doctor shutting the door, leaving her out, and then having this moment of not just taking the burden on himself, he ends up sharing that burden with Rory, which is kind of a dick move. But it just makes the impact of what happens all the more powerful. So this is really a case where performance and the execution nailed this thing to a T. Number 9, Amy's Choice. Another Amy-centric episode, go figure. This is another one that comes down largely to a performance. In this case, though, it's Toby Jones as the Dream Lord. Oh man, do I love him, and I wish they could figure out a way to bring him back. He's just so skeevy and mischievous, and you want to punch him in the face, and he just revs up the Doctor in just the right way. And the sort of bouncing between the two different realities, I think, is played well. They choose good times to make those changes. They do a pretty good job of emphasizing the danger in both of them. If you spend too much time sort of looking at them, the old people, it's a little goofy. But again, an episode does not have to be perfect to be great. And as I said, the performance from Toby Jones is what puts this up over the top. And as always, very solid work from Matt Smith, Arthur Darvill, and Karen Gillan. Number 8. Vincent and the Doctor. This is one that after the first time having seen it, I never would thought would make a top 10 because I didn't think much of it the first time because, you know, the alien creatures, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not particularly unique or original. But I didn't appreciate the first time I saw this what this was actually about, and that it's about human connection. And it has this wonderful message that just because you don't save someone and ensure that they have a happy ending to their life doesn't mean that you weren't important to them. And so when I watched it for a second time, it bowled me over with just how heartfelt the episode is. And the performance of the guy who plays Vincent Van Gogh is spot on. It's wonderful. It's heart-wrenching. He looks terrific in the part. Every now and then, you get a Doctor Who episode where the monsters, the aliens, are not the point. That's very much the case here. But in order for those episodes to work, whatever is the point needs to be pulled off really, really well. And once I got my head in the right wavelength for this episode, yeah, it does it really well. Number 7, The Impossible Astronaut and the Day of the Moon. There's a lot that I really like about this two-parter. I mean, first of all, I like River's song, so I'm always happy to see her back. I love the very idea of the silence, and I love the way that they look and the sort of way that they keep track on their bodies. It's just this wonderful, creepy thing. I mean, I've said before, for me, I actually like the silence and find them slightly creepier than even the Weeping Angels. That's largely a personal preference. But beyond that, I think what really hammered home this episode and this story and why I love it is the end of Day in the Moon and the solution that the Doctor comes up with, splicing that footage of the silence saying, "You should kill us all on sight," into the lunar landing footage. Oh, when you realize what he's just did and the triumphant music swells in, that is such a fantastic moment. And it capped what could have otherwise been a troublesome episode, because there's a lot left hanging at the end of this story. But it wrapped up this particular chunk of the series-long story that it was telling so well, I was perfectly happy to wait until later to find out those other answers. Number 6, The Name of the Doctor. Again, I'm a bit of a sucker for River Song, not going to claim otherwise. But beyond that, this episode really upped the Great Intelligence in my mind in terms of how good a returning villain he is. Because up to this point, the few times we've seen him, he's had schemes that the Doctor has foiled. At this point, he only has one goal: destroy the Doctor as completely as he possibly can. And he wins. He succeeds. And the sacrifice that Clara makes to go in and fix his timeline at basically assuming it's going to be at the cost of her own life. I love the tension of this episode. You really feel from Matt Smith's performance just how nervous and scared and just tightly wound about this entire situation he is. So I love that. We get Vastra, Jenny, Strax. There's a lot going on in this episode, and it all fits together so well. And then that ending with when we got our first look at the War Doctor and going, what is going on? Wow, that's a heck of a cliffhanger. I would argue possibly the best one Doctor Who has ever had. Number 5, the Asylum of the Daleks. This is just a rip-roaring good time of an episode. It's got some of my favorite lines from Matt Smith. Don't be fair to the Daleks when they're firing me at a planet! He's just at his quirky, fast-thinking best in this. I love seeing all the different Daleks, so many that at that point we hadn't seen before in a very long time. I thought the concept was nicely creepy. I really like this initial version of Clara. I actually like it better than the one that we ended up having as a full-time companion, but she was intriguing and fun, fast-talking. It felt like a match for the Doctor, and I was immediately kind of hooked in, like, I like her. And the twist with her at the end worked for me very well. Hinging so much on Amy and Rory's relationship could have been a big sort of just brick around the neck on this episode, but it's not, because those two actors are so good together. They can sell the problems with their relationship just as well as they could sell the high points of that relationship. And the introduction of sort of the Dalek shells, you know, the pool and the thing comes out, that was really creepy. I haven't liked the use of those things since then, but I try not to hold that against this episode. This one just goes from the very beginning, and I love this ride. Number 4, a good man goes to war. Now, remember how I said about the last one, it was just a real fun ride? This one is heavy. And so much of that is in Matt Smith's performance, because when he says to Madame Kavarian, good men don't need rules. This is not the day to find out why I have so many. You feel the menace and the threat in those words so well. And also to watch the episode like get triumphant, then get sad, and then get hopeful again at the end. That's a wonderful emotional roller coaster. And I love the way it opens with Rory, where is my wife? This was the point that Rory became a genuine badass as far as I'm concerned, especially when it came to Amy. It's our introduction to Vastra and Strax and Jenny, and I like them, so first appearance, bonus points there. And that reveal at the end about River Song and her name, and there are only rivers in the forest, and having that sink in, and the music is just so hopeful. It's coming from this low place of, we failed, the bad guys won, but then, no, wait! And the music emphasizes that so much. This is a wonderful episode, and I love the emotional journey of it. Number 3, the Doctor's wife. Here's an idea that on paper sounds terrible. This should be absolutely awful. The consciousness of the TARDIS put into a physical human form that the Doctor can interact with. This should be the most painful piece of crap ever, and it's just not. Between Neil Gaiman's writing and with the performance that we get from that woman, I'm sorry I forget the actress's name, but in so many ways she matches Matt Smith's energy, but in a slightly off way, just kind of in the way that he's slightly off, but they feel distinctly different. It doesn't feel like she's imitating him in any way, but they complement each other very well. And then House, a surprisingly good villain when it's nothing but a green light and a voice, but wonderful vocal performance from Michael Sheen playing that part. And this is another one. This is just a fast-paced, fun ride. I love all the interactions. This is really one of those ones where the interactions are what make it. Watching these characters bounce off of each other, or in the case of House, tormenting other ones. And, you know, again, the conclusion shouldn't work. We're just basically watching lights change, but it feels right. It feels triumphant. It feels earned. This is just one of those cases where it's a wonky idea executed as best as it could ever possibly be, and I love it. We're getting down to it now. Number 2, The Day of the Doctor. Is this one kind of a cheat since it's got more than just the 11th Doctor in it? No, I don't think so. I still consider it his story. It's during his tenure. And even if it is a cheat, I don't care. This is a great episode. This is another one, a little bit like Vincent and the Doctor, where initially watching it, I was kind of like, well, this seems odd because we came into this off of Name of the Doctor, and I thought all the focus was going to be with the War Doctor, and we were really going to dig into that. He's there, and he's good, but so much time is spent with the Zygons, it took me a little while to be like, hold on, how is this going? But it's about finding the better answers. It's about not having to do the horrible thing that you think you have to. And the Zygon story complements what is going on Gallifrey with the moment, and I love the moment. I love Billie Piper coming back to play the Bad Wolf entity. I love not only that performance, but I love retroactively what it kind of does to the concept of Bad Wolf as a whole. I love Osgood. Kate Stewart is great in this. And then the ending. Tom Baker, oh my God, that will never stop being amazing. And, just Matt Smith, again, just doing great work. And it's interesting to see him and Ten get along actually quite well. I mean, they've got a few sticking points, but generally when the Doctor meets himself, he tends to not get along with himself. But these two, they jibe enough that, yeah, they kind of bounce off. And it's nice and it's fun, especially if you're familiar with other multi-Doctor stories. It's actually kind of nice to see them getting along as well as these two do. And I came very close to making this my number one choice. Actually, the one that ended up coming up at number one surprised me, because I gotta tell you guys, I had a hard time ordering this list. I narrowed it down to my top 10 without too much issue, but trying to come up with an order drove me crazy, and I'm kind of surprised at what's my number one. But if I stop and think about it, yep, that's my favorite, and that is the 11th Hour. The very first time we ever got a full episode with Matt Smith as the Doctor. It just does everything a new Doctor story should. It establishes him, his personality, but he's still figuring himself out, and yet, having seen enough of him later on, I was able to go back and pick out, and I was like, yep, no, there's all the pieces, and he's still forming them together. But oh God, that moment at the end where, again, the music during Matt Smith's tenure was phenomenal. I mean, the music in Doctor Who has been great since it has come back, but that music, especially the Hello, I'm the Doctor music, where he walks through the hologram, and there he is, bow tie, just looking ridiculous, but looking perfect. And seeing him just trying to work the problem, but he's not all there, and we know he's not all there in the introduction to Amy, and I love the whole concept of Amy. I love someone who has an immediate deep connection to the Doctor, but also an immediate skepticism of him, because he left her. He left her for years and then did it again. Is it a perfect episode? No, the Atraxi eyeball alien's a little goofy. Prisoner Zero is effective and creepy, but not a lot of depth to him. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because if I am being honest with myself, this just feels so right, and it's the one I've gone back and watched the most, and it's the one I have the most fun rewatching. It is my favorite 11th Doctor story. What about you, though? How many people are just pulling their hair out, either by my things that I've omitted or the order that I put these things in? Whatever you're feeling, or if you want to give me your own top 10, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Until next time, this council is adjourned.